First of all, let me clarify that when I say St. James, I'm not talking about myself. Those of you who know me well know that I am no biblical scholar. I read the Bible almost every day. Particularly, I read the readings from our daily Mass. But I also have a really wonderful Bible that a good friend gave me many years ago. It's called the Recovery Bible. And it has just a lot of information in it. It gives you background as to when these various letters were written, who wrote them, who they wrote them for. It's really interesting to me. So I really do enjoy just reading this book. It really is an interesting book. But particularly as far as my spiritual journey is concerned, it really has helped me recently. Let me tell you why. One of the things that I struggle with, and I have several very good evangelical friends who are somewhat critical of me because I don't really necessarily share their point of view. But I know them, and I know they're very good people, and I know that they sincerely believe in what they talk about. And as a matter of fact, and they send me a lot of good information that comes from people who have a similar point of view, giving a lot of good logical reasons why they have the positions they do. So I respect them, and I respect their sincerity. I really do. But there's something in me that holds me back from accepting their point of view. And James really did help me when I read this chapter. Let me read you a little bit from the introduction to the letter of James in the Bible. He says, James, half brother of Jesus, which I didn't know. I didn't know he was the half. He was a younger brother of Jesus, obviously with a different father, but Mary was his mother, and so that was really interesting to me. But he said, James, half brother of Jesus and one of the leaders of the Jerusalem church, wrote bluntly against this time of hypocrisy. He was talking about people who say one thing and don't do it. They don't act on it. They don't. Their behavior is not consistent with what they say. I tell you, St. James does not pussyfoot around things. He really calls it the way he sees it, and I really do. He said, being human means we tend to hear God's word without putting it into practice. His goal was simple, to get his audience and all believers to face their denial and start acting on what they claim to believe. Now, when I read that, I said, I think that's it. Because in my life, I've had a lot of people who call themselves Christians and go around blessing me and blessing everybody else. And yet, they have not practiced a very honorable, particularly in business, a very honorable way of doing business. That really gave me a bad taste in my mouth. And I can see that it must have given James a pretty bad taste in his mouth, too. He says, James challenged his readers to be full of wisdom, faith, forgiveness, self-control, and generosity to others. Let me say that. Full of faith, wisdom, faith, forgiveness, self-control, and generosity to others. He did not encourage them to rely on mind games or tricks, but simply to do what they knew they needed to do. If their progress started anywhere, it started with an admission that they were responsible to obey God. Only then could they conquer denial and forge ahead with the activities and attitudes that reflected God's will for them. That is a real challenge, because that means that I, like everybody else, have got to live the way I really know God intends for me to live. And God does not intend for me to be backbiting, judgmental, holding grudges against people. He just doesn't. He intends for me to forgive others as I would have others forgive me. You know, that's what I say every time I say the Lord's Prayer. It is just as simple as that. I've said so many times, and I really believe it, that it isn't that God doesn't tell us what He wants us to do. He tells us all the time. We know that if we listen to that little still quiet voice inside of us. But we don't like the message. We want to do what we want to do, not what we know we should do. And so that's the lesson I got from James. I really, it's a very short little letter. It's not hard at all to read. And I encourage you sometime just take it out, grab a Bible and read it. It's really interesting. And it gives you good information. And it should, I hope, inspire you to continue on your spiritual journey as it has inspired me. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you more later. Bye now.